Hi, Al Williams here with yet another quick and dirty 1802 related video. You've probably seen that I've been experimenting with some old 1802 emulation code I wrote. I ported it over to a black pill that was 1802 black. I decided I wanted to do disk drives, so I moved it over to a Raspberry Pi PICO variant that has a lot of flash on it. And that's worked very well. I've been using that quite a bit. But I had, in my mind, thought about porting it over to Linux because it would be very convenient when you're doing software development to just have the 1802 running on your desktop at probably good speed with lots of different potential disk drives that were really sitting on your real disk drive, things like that. So I did that. I've got that. I call it 1802 PC. I'm getting ready to put it into yet a different GitHub repository, and I'll link that below. I'm going to start it. If you start it normally, it just operates like a console application. So, right there in your command line prompt, it just comes up and you type in the stuff. The problem is if you want to do something like X modem transfers or something, I won't say it's impossible to do, but it's hard to do. So I'm going to use the -P option, which is one of the options to the command line, and that tells it to open up a PTY and tell me what it is. A PTY is a pseudo terminal. So it actually says the PTY device is dev PTS5, and you can see that's what I have this terminal open to, is PTS5. So that's looks like a serial port for all intents and purposes, and in fact, there's the STG ROM, the excellent STG BIOS that I have. And you can do all the things here that you normally do if you wanted to run BASIC or what have you. But of course, what I was really interested in was booting the operating system. And by the way, not only are the disk drives on the hard drive, but also a configurable place to put the EEPROM. So if you wanted to, you could set this up to auto boot and it would obey that. And on the PICO, it does that as well. I don't like doing it on the PICO because I have to go put jumper wires out if I ever want to stop that. But on this, it's very easy. I can just do a command line option that says don't auto start, and then that's fine. So, or I could wipe out the EEPROM file because it's all accessible. So I'm going to go ahead and boot the operating system. You'll notice it's super fast. And this is the latest kernel, I believe, from David. I think it's the latest, at least the latest release. And you say, well, gee, there's nothing there. Well, that's because we're in the home directory. So if I go up a directory, you'll see that I've got a few more interesting things here. Many of these utilities like up and PWD are from some of the people that have GitHub repositories. I think those are from 4Sticks, I believe. And, like I say, the kernel's from David. So there's been a lot of group effort. Mike kind of started out all this stuff. A lot of people have done more things with it, including myself. And this this install of the OS has my latest fourth, my latest basic, which, the modifications to Mike's fourth and basic. It's got the editor with the advanced editing mode, a couple of other things that I've been working on that people have been reading about on the list. So if you didn't want to have to burn a ROM or go find a Pi Pico, if you've got a Linux prompt, this will do it for you. And the hard drive image is just, you unzip it and it's there. And if you wanted to have a couple of different ones, you can make different hard drive images. So let's look at it. I've got a lot of aliases for the commands. So like instead of directory, I have ls. And you can see lots of different commands there. A lot of them are duplicates, so copy and cp or ls and dir, things like that. The other parts that are here, let's see, the reason that we were in the home directory was David's init program. And so if you look at config init rc, that is just to change directory to home. I also have a couple of different kernels. This particular kernel is the 421.135, but I've also had kernel 348 on here, and by copying either of those over to kernel, you could change those at will if you wanted to. Not sure why you'd want to, but just in case. What else? So, if you say RC basic, of course, you got, whoops, the classic program everybody used to write at Radio Shack when you were sitting in front of one of their computers back in the day. You notice super fast, which is nice. And let's see, what else can I tell you? The help files are there. Although they're not up to date, I'm not sure if there's more up to date ones, and I just don't know where they are. They're probably on GitHub. But like you can see, the dir doesn't have the dir L switch documented, but I know it's there. So I'm sure there's other things like that. Let's see. If you look at the Metamon, that's the monitor that's built into the simulator. And so it even has a disassembler now, which is something new. And I think I have a backspace problem there that needs to be fixed, but you can see it disassembles, and while you're single-stepping code and everything, you get the disassembly. So that's very nice. I'm going to go back over here. Let's see. Another interesting thing you can do is zrun zork1dat, and there's Zork. I'll open the mailbox. I'll read the leaflet. That's usually about as far as I get. And so when I tell it to quit, it's going to admonish me that I'm a beginner and I have no points. That's okay. Let's see, what else can I tell you? You know, some amount of disk space free there, obviously. That's a fairly large disk, although you could make it much bigger up to the limits of the BIOS. I've got some limits there that it won't get much bigger. Or well, I would say much bigger. It won't get beyond a certain size. And quite a bit of memory also, because really you don't need an accelerator or anything. So it's plenty fast all by itself, so there's a lot of free memory. So for example, Zork won't run on the PICO with the accelerator loaded, I think because there's not enough memory, because it's exactly the same emulation code, but it runs fine here because there's quite a bit more memory. All in all, great fun. It's a very easy way to get ElfOS running. You basically download this, build it under Linux with a make command. Doesn't require anything too exotic, I don't think. And then you unzip the disk directory, and you can point at different directories. It does have the same structure, so it's not like there's just this one file. There's a bunch of little files, and that's because I have plans to be able to move disk images back and forth between this and the PICO, and on the PICO you kind of have to do it that way. The EEPROM is also in a file, and you can change that. So you could have multiple configurations and switch between them on the command line. So anyway, hope you give it a try. Hope you enjoy it, and thanks for watching.